the TEDx talk, for example, the one we did last fall, it started out at 23 minutes, then we got it down to like 19, and then a couple days before we got down to like 18, and then we timed it the night of the event was 17:10. But there was practicing again and again where I actually gave the talk a few times, not in front of a live audience. I delivered out in my porch,
Right.
And I was timing as I was seeing the audience there when I was practicing. So when I got in front of all the big lights like the studio and the red dot and the live audience, I wasn't too freaked out because I already visualized what that could be like.
You weren't freaked out? You weren't nervous?
Oh, I was, yeah. I would be completely remiss if I didn't say, it was
This is
interesting to
gonna be
walk
seen in
out.
Singapore. This is
Yeah,
gonna be
well,
seen in Bravery.
you just don't know where it's going to go.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives. Well, today we're going to be continuing our conversation with Tony Rubleski because we needed to talk. I wanted to talk to him about the youth today, and I'm talking youth of more the young men that feel kind of lost, clunky, undriven. I guess the best word, failure to thrive with all of the resources they have been given to them. And we want to talk about leadership. We want to talk about public speaking, how to do a great presentation. And we're going to talk about my favorite subject, Toastmasters. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. But Tony understands it completely. And of course, people that are still dying, maybe deep down, really want to write a book. We're going to try to get all this in 25-minute interview conversation, Tony. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, my friend. We will do our best. We'll give it our best.
All right. So glad you're in town, and so glad you flew in for I know you put a lot on your calendar, but I'm sure my interview helped you do that, or my conversation.
Yes.
We're going to talk at this season. This is our season 7. We're going to be like a conversation. And it's like we do all the time. As soon as you walked in the door, let's sit down, let's catch up, whatever. All right. The reason I wanted to do a part 2, after that, if you want to know what part 1 was about, is Trailblazers. It was written in 2018. He's bringing it back out because it is so needed today, and it's about leadership for businesses and even the individual. All right. We're going to talk about, you know what? This is what I hear over and over again is these young men, some, all right, you got those people out there you see on social media that look like they're all flying in private jets, right?
Yep.
What's really real today? But I'm talking about really failure to thrive with the resources they have been given them. And you must see this. What's the difference when you were out there 10, 15 years ago networking as opposed to you're looking in front of a 25 or 28, even a 32. And you're just like, man, you need to be further down the road here. And I see this all the time.
Yeah.
Is it our society? Is it the degrees they're getting? I don't know. Is it parenting? God, I hope it's not parenting.
This is quite an interesting question to start with. But I think I'll give some perspective of from in the frame of reference where I pull it from. There are more resources available than ever. There's too much information. However, under 30, I have 3 children that are 28 this year, 26, and 23. 2 daughters, and my son is youngest. He'll be 23.
Your daughter was Miss America,
Miss Michigan for a while, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not fair.
Yeah,
so you have some.
I look at it and I go, so I'll put them under the 30 age group. But they've been raised on digital. They understand the technology very well. They can fix your laptop. They can help me with social media because they're more attuned to it. It's more natural.
Right.
Whereas you look at our age group, it's more of the old school traditional type of marketing. I'm Gen X, and I'm sort of stuck between a lot of our team is under 50 that works with me, and my children will help me out and give me ideas about podcasts and social media. And then I have my mentors that are 10 or 20 years in front of me. So I'm sort of stuck in the middle watching everybody going, what's viable, what's applicable, and how do I share information that helps people? And I'm sort of like a guidepost, or it points to signs to resources like a Toastmasters. Or I have books that help enlighten people in different topics. But I'm not Dr. Phil. I'm not Judge Judy.
No, but
I'm around
hear
people.
Things.
Oh yeah, I'm around people like a fly on the wall, interesting conversations in different places as I travel. So take that context to heart. What I'm seeing is I think it's a lot of overwhelm. And there's so much mixed messaging post-COVID the last 5 years, as we talked about a little bit in the first interview, that technically they're brilliant. And there's nothing wrong with the fact that they've been raised as digital natives. Those of us that are the generations ahead of them are trying to keep up with all this change.
Oh, I know. Yes.
And we're seeing that, online and offline communication skills are very, very powerful and needed more than ever. So what I hear from a lot of employers is they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to talk face to face. They don't know how to listen. That's not easy to solve, but I'll give you a few clues of how to make it better.
Thank you.
There's what's old is new again. There's books such as How to Win Friends and Influence People.
It's so old school, man. Is it like 150 years, 60
I think
years?
it's probably, don't quote me, someone can AI it right now watching in real time. I think it might have been written in the 30s or 40s, okay?
Okay.
So it's coming up on 100 years, but the wisdom in there is timeless. I think what people miss is that great storytellers connect no matter what time frame they're in. So now you can take it on your phone, you can put it up on TikTok, an excerpt, and put it on YouTube, Facebook. There's additional online channels. You can have AI re-edit it, format it down, television like we're doing the old traditional media, but it's just taking the message and moving it out amongst different ways to communicate it. Now it's in real time, which is fascinating. So the story to me is critical. There are things that are learnable skills. The best analogy I see when people say, well, I can't figure it out. Imagine if you were 8 months old and you said, I don't want to walk. I've fallen down like 48 times and I'm not getting up the 49th time. Eventually humans, we're a very resilient race.
Yes.
When our backs are against the wall, we seem to find a way to get through it most of the time. So the communication problem, the challenges are real, but there are some possible solutions if people want to. You and I are both Toastmaster fans. I'm a product of it. I recommend it constantly.
What is Toastmasters?
It's not a drinking club. So as we grab our water here or our coffee, I'm here to tell you it's not a drinking club.
Well, because we're trying to reintroduce this to people that have not heard of it.
Yeah.
So if I met you, what would you say? What is Toastmasters?
To me, it's a communications organization that teaches not only the ability to speak more clearly and communicate better, how to listen more effectively, and how to give evaluations and improve people's lives. And that's really three main things that I took out of it as a 10-year member. And I don't do what I do now as a professional paid speaker and a writer unless I was in Toastmasters in my 20s. I'm in my 50s now. The gray hairs prove it. So I look at it and go, wow, if I had not stepped into a Toastmasters club in my early 20s because I wanted to learn how to present better, be better in my career. Hello, does this sound like things that can help people? Yes. How to listen better. As someone that does a lot of presentations, I'm selling in a presentation. Ideas, concepts, getting people to think, to look at things differently, to remind people of what they're good at, and to things that they need to work on.
Right.
So that takes a degree of confidence, which all comes down to how good can you communicate. I do one of the top 5 human fears all the time, public speaking. I was in Montana last week speaking for a group of 80 people, many I didn't know, I'd never seen. I'm in Arizona the next few days at an event out in the desert with people, some I know, many I don't. The following week I'm in Iowa, then I'm back in Grand Rapids. I'm around new people constantly. And what I always try to do is set them at ease within the first 30 seconds to a minute. Where they go, okay, this guy's relatable. I want to listen to him. What's he going to do next? And sometimes it's shocking. I start with a question. I'll start with a picture in a presentation. I'll start with a story. And if you combine those in the first couple minutes, you have people going, this is very different. It's not an accident. It's a studied skill, how to communicate better. It's an art form. I did a TEDx talk last fall. I know we're kind of moving around here a little bit, but it took 10 years to get one of those. I kept applying and applying and finally got one. And ironically, it was on a topic that I never thought I would talk about, nor did I thought I wanted to even become a TED Talk. So sometimes you have a goal that takes these completely different directions that gets you there, and you get there and you go, wow, I didn't quite see it arriving that way. But the communication was the key to get it there.
Was it everything you thought it was?
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking, and I
Did you have that big timer in front of you?
Yeah, and TEDx Talk, people that are not familiar, check out TEDx.com. It's the most scripted, rehearsed, structured talk you're probably ever going to get.
Is there like things you have to stand?
Yeah, I had to unlearn. You stand in the red dot. I had to unlearn many things that I thought I knew and bring a much more open mind to make it not all about me. So you're trying to help people that are watching live when it's recorded and those that see it a few months later when it releases around the globe. So I felt like, the adage that school is never out for the pro. And a lot of things I get from people is you make it look really easy up there. Well, it's 10 years of Toastmasters, 1,000+ presentations, and repetition, repetition, repetition. The only way I can see people getting really good at it is if they have to, because their job says you have to now be like, you're going to be training our employees, or if their boss says you need to get better at this for your next evaluation, people are forced to do it. The other way I think you can get really, really good at communication is Toastmasters. You can hire coaches too. Again, my bias is right out there on the table. Dollar for dollar, it's a steal.
It's the best.
If you can't afford coaching, join a Toastmasters club. Well, I haven't found one. Find one. I went to one that wasn't right. Go to another club. Find a virtual club. I will recommend now that we're out of 2-3 years out of the rearview mirror of COVID, get good at face-to-face communication.
Tell me how to better handle when I'm doing a presentation and you have people in the distraction of the world to be okay.
It's a great question. There's no simple answer, but there's a few clues that make it more effective. First and foremost, I noticed about 15 years ago, the phone was starting to crash in the presentation. People were looking at it a little bit more. In the last few years, it's like, if they're not really engaged, they're going to look down, they're going to act like they're not looking, they're going to be, and you could say, hey, what did I say? They're like, oh, what was that? So here are a few tips that I use, and I teach this to a lot of speakers and writers about how to hold an audience or get mind captured.
Okay.
First and foremost, visuals. Doesn't mean you have to just show slides when you're up there, but we're in a world where we're used to scrolling on our phone, we're used to pictures, okay? The average attention span now, this was last year from Microsoft's research teams, their data is 8 seconds. It's less than a goldfish. So what I'm always trying to do when I get up there is shock them right out of the gate. It could be a question, a story, a picture. I'll ask them a question, they go, what's he gonna do next? And then I look around and they're like, okay, I've got attention. I say, you know what? The temptation will be you're gonna wanna look at your phone. You can do what you want, but I recommend that if we've got an hour together, let's enjoy it together, because I can see you. And they're like, oh, he can see me. And I tell them up front, it's sort of like the upfront agreement of how we're going to teach and play with each other as a speaker, especially if it's a live audience, is that I want you to write certain things down. I want to give them commands, not to be bossy, but I want them to get selfish with their time. That if we're here for an hour, and half the time the audience has to be in the room because the company says they have to be there. If it's a conference where they're optional, they're much more aligned because they want to be there. So there's a difference where they have to know that.
When they're paying, yeah.
But I'll do things like, ask a bunch of questions, show us pictures, tell a story. Hey, how many of you agree? Raise your hand if you're this. It's like, where's he going to go next? And it's almost like a carnival ride. By the time I'm done with them, after the hour, they go, wow, that went really fast, and that was interesting.
That's what you want.
Yes.
You want your speech or your presentation to lose a track of time. You have to keep track of time because you're only allowed, we all know this, you learn this in Toastmasters, time is everything. But when I'm out there, it's like, I'm like, oh wow, that half hour went so quick, or that 45 minutes. And I love that.
And it's use your best stories, and you have to practice. There's certain stories you've heard me share at boot camps, I've told them for 10 years. I have fun with it, it's enjoyable, and I know it's so cold I could give it my sleep, but it's fun, and it looks natural, and I know it works. Now I add things in there that are brand new, so it's not always canned. But if there's stories that connect with most audiences from Seattle down to Miami, Florida, I'm going to share those stories because they have a larger reach that people can relate. You want to have relatable stories.
Okay.
You want to practice them.
Do you practice in the mirror? Do you practice in front of friends? How does that work?
I watch video a lot. So I can look at playback. I can see interviews. Like I'll watch part of this interview as we edit it and go, okay, how were my hand gestures? Was I too fast with speech? Was I too soft? Was I big with gestures? Was I too contained? Were my hands moving? Was I too calm? Did I fidget too much?
Oh my goodness, it's brutal.
These are things that we learn in Toastmasters.
I know.
And I think I'd rather watch that and also go, are there certain patterns, like if I say, you know what, on that point, if I keep saying on that point over and over, that's a hang up. We're taught ahs, ers, and ums.
Filler words.
For a lot of people can't sit silent, they feel like they have to say something. And now that you've watched this interview tonight, you'll never look at and listen to an interview the same way again. You're going to notice it.
Right. That's one thing about it. It does teach you about how to do, you know what I'm saying, those filler words. And then now I'm into, Tony, you're going to like this because you're always telling me to slow down, is the breath.
Yeah.
We call it the pause, but now it's just breathe before you go into your next thought.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful, and people don't think so. You're going to lose people's attention, but no, because everybody is uncomfortable with silence.
Yeah.
So you take a deep breath, but do a little breath, and then go in. So I'm learning.
One of the top coaches in our industry of speaking and publishing is named Joe Bauer. I coached with him last year with a group of about 70 people. It was a full week long. We did it on Zoom. It was affordable. He charges a lot of money if you can even get him to coach you, but he worked in a group dynamic. And a couple gems he gave us that complement, Toastmasters and things that I teach around the world is don't overspeak the rate of consumption. I'm a fast talker. I have high energy. What I've learned over the years is to slow it down, to take a break. Hey, does anyone have a question? because sometimes I'm going so fast, they're hearing, they can't even process it, and I keep going farther and farther in front of them, that I look back and go, that's who I am, so I'm being authentic, but I need to refine that so there's more of an impact.
Yeah, you do have a lot
Versus
of
me
energy.
going brrrr like I used to. I think it's a maturity and an age thing, but it's also like I want them, I don't have to like cram 10 pounds into a 3-pound bag during my hour keynote. Take 5 pounds out, maybe put 5 pounds in a 3-pound bag, but I don't have to go so fast.
That 1 pound, and you can. I just had something yesterday, and I just said to David, nonchalant, I'm like, he probably could have got that speech done and that information in 10 minutes instead of making us go. You know what I'm saying? Just because you have a 20, maybe you need to reassess and have more pauses or more engagement.
Yep. In TEDx Talk, for example, the one we did last fall, you know, it started out at 23 minutes, then we got it down to like 19, and then a couple days before we got down to like 18, and then we timed it the night of the event was 17:10. But there was there was practicing again and again where I actually gave the talk a few times, not in front of a live audience. I delivered out in my porch, you know, and I was timing as I was seeing the audience there when I was practicing. So when I got in front of all the big lights like the studio and the red dot and the live audience, I wasn't too freaked out because I already visualized what that could be like.
You weren't freaked out? You weren't nervous?
Oh, I was, yeah. I would be completely remiss if I didn't say, you know, it was
This is
interesting to
gonna
walk
be seen
out.
in Singapore. This is
Yeah,
gonna be
well,
seen in
you just don't know where it's going to go. My 2 daughters, Paige and Taylor, were sitting like from me to like 10 feet where the cameras are at, watching it live.
It was exciting.
And it was a very personal story about a former gambling problem I had. So it wasn't just all joy and rah-rah. It was some deep stuff that was dirty, like not in a bad way, but just it was painful. I had to bring like all those old emotions from 8 years earlier and then bring them out and say, okay, this was really difficult, and here's what I did to get through it, and here's where I'm at now. So it was, I couldn't get too into my head. That's why proper preparation leads to successful speech,
And that's
presentation, is
That's
because
why
you're prepared.
Toastmasters is great.
Correct.
You get to do it over and over, and we always tell people, do your presentation in front of us. We'll give you some feedback. We call them glows and grows and get you to become better. And people have, when you watch the transformation of people that can speak and do a presentation where they were when they came, you're just like, that's why I stay in it. And I know you're too busy, but you said you would visit my club, and I'm going to hold you to it.
We'll get there.
All right, let's talk about another thing. All right, let's talk about networking. You're a huge networker. And for the people out there that have to do that's brutal, or they just don't feel comfortable, how do, in the world of the way it is today, since after 2020, it's even worse with people's attention, how do you give us some networking tips so we can engage? Like if you want to meet people, and this would be hard for you, but I mean, people want your attention when you go to places, and so they drain you, but there may be people you're targeting.
Yeah.
So what, do you prepare? Do you go to the leaders and say, hey, make the introduction? What do you do to meet the people that you want to meet?
Couple thoughts on that, because it's a very broad question, but I'll try to narrow down for the audiences. I network a lot.
Right.
And I was at an event 2 weeks ago down in Kalamazoo. There was 3 people I wanted to meet, and people introduced me to them. Like, hey, I know you want to meet this person. I want you to meet this person. So I wasn't introducing, they were introducing them to me, which was nice. So the positioning it wasn't as uncomfortable per se. A big shift I'm seeing is people want to go back to live events. Now, I do live events, so I'm a little biased. But I have other leaders telling me that there's a hunger for people to get out of the house and get back with people.
Right.
And I was very adamant 5 years ago when you and I first met that social distancing now has been proven to be, I think, the biggest fraud in human history. They were built for connection, Pamela. I knew it the whole time. I did live events during the pandemic, and no one got sick. We weren't reckless, but I was not going to sit on my hands and not do live events.
You were a disruptor. You're a trailblazer.
I was at a point where it was more of it wasn't like a left or right or a political thing. I was like, it was a principle thing. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
so we did live, and people were like loving it then. But here's what swung back. People are kind of getting burned out with all the Zoom and the Microsoft Teams meetings. We're going to do it. Now, I like to do meetings. It's opened up some opportunities where I win speaking dates because people watch me on a Zoom interview or Teams, and they're seeing my tonality. I'm answering questions that an old phone line couldn't do. So it brings me to live audiences by using digital to get me to them. It's an interconnected thing with the technology.
You've been doing, I saw your interviews. So it's able for you to be on other people's podcasts, YouTube channels, from afar. You didn't have to travel.
Correct.
And it saves them. And so I saw that, and that's just, it's part of our life.
So it's not going away.
Right.
And back to your question, and your point is, in-person networking is becoming big again because people miss it. They can meet more people at a trade show than you can trying to email them and LinkedIn message them for a year. They're tools that are effective, but I'm like, if there's a great trade show or conference, go for a day or two and meet 20 decision makers face to face, exchange a card, get a photo with them, then you follow up and you get appointments much easier because you did something different, you showed up. I have some concerns and reservations for the younger age groups coming up because it's foreign to them. It seems, oh, we'll just send them an email or text. It's a way to knock and maybe get them to look at you, but to have a genuine conversation face-to-face still trumps everything. And I loved going to live events because I can meet more people sometimes in a room than I could with our team trying to get them on an email or a phone call. For 12 months, we can do that in 2 or 3 months because we saw them. They know a name and a face. There's a funny picture together. That's mind capture. It stands out.
Well, they just assume that the person that they're trying to reach doesn't get a million other texts. Without all your businesses and all your, merchandising people, everybody, I mean, you're going to get lost in that. So that's kind of silly because maybe you're not getting all the texts, but if I was reaching out to you, I know that, if I have to remind you of something, it's because I got buried.
Correct.
With all that text.
And it's I've said this for a long time, written about, is in the age of digital, you must customize to connect. Yeah. We use offline direct mail pieces to specific groups and clients that people will go, what did you send us? We'll get an email, we got the comic book, we're laughing out loud. We use a lot of online and offline tools to get people's attention, and you layer it, then you clearly stand out because you're not just doing, I sent one email and hope they get back to me. Good luck, you gotta stay on people. It's not because you have to stalk them, they're too damn busy like you are. And I might imagine now, the last 10 years, a lot of our mental tabs used to have maybe 5 or 10 things open. Now most of us are running with 30 or 40 tabs open. We got our life, we got this problem, we got self-talk, we got short attention. Oh, our phone's going off, we got to be here. Someone's texting an email, some people message. I sent you a message, which of the 5 platforms did you send it on? So now the brain is becoming so taxed that if you want to do something different, make it about them, a unique picture, something custom. People are, that's really different.
And people don't know that they need to be people don't realize what it feels like. I always get this, when I go to an event, I'm kind of reluctant, I'm really busy, but when I'm there, start connecting, I'm like, I really needed this.
Yeah.
I really needed to get and meet new people, and I needed just to be engaged. It doesn't have to, I may not walk off with a sell, or I may not walk off with an interview that I'm looking for, but it was like, I always walk away with like, God, I really needed that.
Yeah.
I just needed to connect.
And a networking tip I used a couple weeks ago at that breakfast I was at, I didn't really talk about what I do. So the person introduced me, like, they do this now? Thanks, I appreciate it. Cool. And I'm like, what do you do? I make it all about them.
Yeah.
I'm kind of boring when I'm not doing my thing. People are like, you just ask questions and listen to people. I'm like, they all have a story. And I'd rather learn more about them. They don't care about me until they get to know me better. They want to know what's in it for me.
Right.
So I just talk about them and just listen.
One more thing I really wanted to cover. We talked about this before the interview, but anyways, okay. During 20, you were, the dealer of hope. And then it was, gratitude.
Yeah.
All right. Now what I'm seeing, let's talk about this, is I think trust is becoming the next thing, the next commodity, the next thing people are looking for because of everything that has been told to us that we're finding out that may not be true.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So you're feeling like this. And people that have been a kind of attacked on social media, whatever, for voicing their opinions. And that may be why leaders don't voice their opinions.
Yeah.
Because they don't want, it could be a career ender.
Yep.
Exactly. So what are you seeing out there? Because I see that I feel it myself. I just don't have as much of that trust to give away as I used to. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question. It's a personal choice, number one. What level of comfort you have.
Yeah, I want to measure
Yeah, I think a few things that jump out is, when you're real with people, not everyone's going to like it. And your detractors, the critics, the former in-law, the former partner, they're going to be waiting for you to show vulnerability. That's all right. You're not trying to serve them. I know typically when I get in front of a group, 30% of the audience doesn't like me. I used to worry about them in the evaluations. I can't because they're not on stage leading. They're not there putting themselves out there. Doesn't mean they're bad people. I'm not trying to serve them. The 70%, that middle ground, I'm trying to influence them or get them to think a little bit differently or maybe be engaged with me. And that was, something years ago. I was a people pleaser. I want to make everybody happy.
I'm like
that's not realistic.
Like
and there's nothing wrong with being a good human, but when you're trying to make everybody happy, eventually you hit a wall and you get drained and you crash. I've been there. So that wake-up call from being the old Tony of many years ago to the new one is it's more of a carefree, like, that's okay, okay. I don't take things personal as much. And some people are like, I'm not for you. And in the beginning of a speech, if it's a keynote in front of 500 people, I say, look, some of you aren't going to like me. That's okay. Hopefully there's a point or two or something that sparks your mind that's worth your time. You don't have to like me. That's real raw with an audience. It's almost like stand-up because people are sensitive now. Saying, look, I'm here to not make you mad at me. You're an adult, right? Yeah, we're adults. Can we have fun? Yep. Do you want to be here? Some of you don't, some of you do. Then I've got them going, this guy's like in my head. Because I want them to feel like it's not going to be a waste of their time, that I kind of don't care what they think. I've already been paid usually to be there.
Right.
Doesn't mean I want to be offensive and mean and shock value, but I have to say things you're not going to agree with. I always tell the audience, you should question everything I say. Look at every slide and go, I don't know. Some of it you're going to agree with, some of you're not, and that's fine. But I don't want this to be another boring presentation for you or I, because your time is just as valuable as mine. Now we're setting expectation up front how I'm going to work with them for an hour. I don't speak at them, I speak with them. I come off stage, I go in the audience and I work with them. I'm having fun with them. I'm like, I would want to watch my own speech and be entertained at times. If it's not that way, then why am I doing what I'm doing? Don't be fooled. You have to know your chops, you have to have content, and you have to have your area of expertise. But you've got to be entertaining too, Pam.
You do have to be entertaining.
When I'm brought in for a big keynote now, they don't want to know much I know about maybe leadership in detail. They want to be entertained and they want some leadership strategies. But don't be fooled. If I'm doing an opening keynote to kick off a 3-day event, they want someone up there that's fun, unique, engaging, and memorable, that has mind capture. Everything else is secondary at that point.
You want to put people at ease.
Yeah.
So people want to feel I like that trust. You know, I want to. We're all looking. I want to trust you.
Yeah.
You know, are you safe? Can I
Right.
say stuff which is difficult today sometimes? Say something that you're not going to. You know, everybody feels like everybody's recording. You get that, right?
Oh, that people got their phones.
Right.
And I throw a lot of comedy in because I'm comfortable doing that, and I know what stuff works. And occasionally, if something doesn't work, I'm like, well, that didn't go well. We'll take that out, and the crowd's laughing because, like, well, he's sensing the energy didn't play on that one. Okay, I'm testing stuff with you too.
All right.
So.
Well, you didn't cover everything I wanted to cover. Let me tell you, we didn't even talk about being an author and helping people because there are people. Is a book a good idea? Can you just wrap that one up real
I'll
quickly?
leave it with this. There's some great resources. I have a book called So You Want to Write a Book.
Yes.
Which
you
we were,
wrote-
I think, on season 5. We talked about, or season 6.
Yes.
So go back. There's also Stephen King's book on writing, which is real good. And absolutely, final interesting story that talks about AI. Friend of mine, Mike, short version, for 3-4 years, I want to write a book. We sat down, we recorded over a lunch with Wendy and our team in 2 hours. AI edited down, and like he's got 98% of his book done like in a day. It's changing where you don't have to overthink.
Is it on your website where somebody can download? You'll put it on your website. Will you put that on your website?
It's a program, so we'll get out there. But
Okay.
I left there and went, my gosh, the entire book writing process is being upended in a good way where people
Disrupted.
can take their story and have it edited and done within a few days versus what used to be a few years or a few months. So everyone's got a story, and I believe that you never know the positive impact your story has on somebody else.
Yep, you're a thumb. All right. So how can they reach you?
Yeah.
How can I get you? He's got what 9 books now, 10 books. Everyone is valuable. Everyone's going to get as golden nuggets in it for you today. Especially this one.
Thank you.
You know, with the leaders that we've lost over the years too,
Yeah.
but they still left us with some good knowledge. All right, how can I get the book? How can they reach you if you want to be at a presentation?
Thank
or
you.
whatever?
Easiest way for presentations or books is go to mindcapturegroup.com. Again, mindcapturegroup.com. Books are on Amazon.
All right, and then one event you got coming up with Tony. You want to meet some of his key people that he hangs out with now. Where can they get more information on that?
Mindcapturegroup.com. It's the Mind Capture Boot Camp, November 6th here in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
All right, so plenty of time to sign up for that. And I want to thank my dear friend Tony
Thank
Rubleski
you.
for
It
coming
was an
back.
honor and a pleasure.
All right, I expect you at my Toastmasters Club.
We'll get there.
Look that up. Anybody that wants to build their public speaking and leadership skills, that's where you want to start. This is Pamela Keim from Grand Tap Media. Thank you for being here today. We'll catch you next time. Take care, everyone.